How's it going, guys? Brian Cusco here at Triple B. If you're a reptile keeper, you may have heard of a company called Zilla. They're constantly making sizable donations to US ARC, and to my knowledge, they are also the first company to ever sponsor a reptile YouTube channel, also known as Dave Kaufman, Herpers TV. So, not only is Zilla a pioneer in its own right, but it also has a cool story about a company that started corporate but went keeper. That keeper is Ryan McVeigh, and today we're going to find out what makes him tick. You're watching Triple B TV. What kind of animals do you keep and stuff? I
Atascadero, dwarf monitors. Yep.
Dwarf monitors?
A dozen plus species of monitors I keep.
So mostly monitors and stuff?
Mostly monitors and South Pacific and Australian pythons and boas. So I've got olives, womas, blackheads. I like keeping olive pythons because they hate everyone. Savus. Basically things you open up the tub and they try and rip your face off.
All right,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah, olive pythons are pretty sweet.
And they're like raptors, dude. You can see them thinking about how they're going to screw up your day.
How would you compare it to like a retic?
Retics are smart, but they're relatively predictable, I feel like.
Okay.
My olives, you'll hold them, and then it'll just be climbing up your arm, and then it'll just turn its head and grab you and just wrap up. I've had buddies go, oh, it's not a big deal, I can totally handle those, and they pick them up and walk out of the room, and I go, 3, 2, ah, crap! I'm like, yeah. I had a buddy, he's like, I can hold these, not a big deal. Opens up the tub, it gets 3 inches open. She shoots out, hits him 3 times between his knee and his junk in a flash of a second, and then turns him around and pins him into the corner. And he started screaming, and my wife at the time had to come in with a hook and save him. Because he was just in the corner bleeding down his legs. I was like, yeah, how'd that feel? Good job, huh? That's bad snake guy.
Oh yeah. I love animals like that too. They kind of put you in your place.
Well, for me, it's more of like I want to downplay ball pythons or corns ring. They're all great. I like an animal that I can't just reach in. I have to know that animal's habits. I have to know its body language. I have to pay attention. You blink and they know it. I've had some of my worst bites have been from olives. I got hit in the chest and it got into my skin in my chest, pulled like skin out of my chest and was death rolling. So I got it off my chest and in my shirt it's doing this in the air. Wow. It sucked. It was awful. My knuckles are screwed up on this hand because I had one get me on the side of the fingers and it's the long rows of teeth in the center went down into my knuckles.
Ooh.
Yeah. So the weather changes, my hand gets tense. And
ooh.
yeah. I put that one underwater until it passed out. I had to use something to pry my fingers out, and it was doing the same thing. It was coming to in slow motion, doing this, trying to strike at me. I'm like, as soon as it snows, you're going outside. I hate you.
Well, how did you get into reptiles?
All right, ready? I don't know if you've heard this story before. I liked dinosaurs. Then I found a garter snake. Then I liked reptiles. I don't know anybody else anywhere that doesn't have. That's very
the first time I've
unique
heard
to
that
me.
one.
Yeah. No, that's kind of what I liked reptiles. I caught frogs and stuff when I was a kid. I remember one of my earliest memories. I was at a family reunion, and there's a pond and like a barn in this park. It was when all the toadlets were morphing out. So I got deli cups and filled them with toadlets and lined them up on this bench, like thousands of them. And then I just dumped them all around me and played with them. Yeah, I've always loved reptiles, man. And at one point I thought, like, I'm gonna make it a career. I'm gonna go be a biologist or zoologist or something. I worried that my hobby, nobody likes their job no matter how much you like your job. If me feeding my kids is dependent on the animals, there's more stresses to it. And I didn't want my hobby to not be fun anymore. So I went into engineering and I did that because I enjoyed that. But I kept my hobby and my fun and my escape.
It's interesting to hear you say that because I've had a similar kind of feeling myself about, I've had a lot of hesitation about trying to make any kind of career or any kind of job, because I've done the same thing with music. Like I played music professionally for a long time and then tried to do some photography stuff professionally. And to your point, it starts to feel like work. And You're like, why does this feel like work? This is what I love to do.
Exactly.
And so it's been, I hear you.
I never wanted animals to be that. And then, being in the hobby, there's a lot of great guys out there, but I've seen a lot of guys go into like breeding for a living, and then that animal's cash, it's money. They got to make bills, they got bills to pay, they got kids to feed, and then it becomes less of an animal, a living thing, and it's more of I got to get this gone. I got to sell this thing, and it's baseball cards, and I didn't want that. That actually shied me away. I always kind of had that. I'm gonna breed all this stuff, and then maybe I could make a living off it, like or make a good substantial side income. And the more I saw that out there, the more I wanted nothing to do with it. And now I keep what makes me happy, stuff that I like to play with and it makes me excited to have. And then if they breed, awesome, great. If they don't, I don't care. I'm not, I don't have to. You see a lot of people push small ball python females because they really want those eggs, they really need her to breed. I don't care if my animals never breed, but if they do, sweet, it's awesome, I love it, But it's nice to just I have them just because I like them. I build great enclosures because I like to. If they do really great and they breed, awesome. If they don't, whatever. Still enjoy having them.
Speaking of building enclosures, Zilla was a company that was maybe not doing so hot at first, and then from what I know, you came along and
so it's kind of a funny story. So Zilla was started in 2008, and what happened, why Zilla was started, Central Garden Pets, this big corporate company, and they owned KT, they owned Super Pet, they owned a bunch of different small, and then they bought out ESU Reptile. Remember ESU Reptile? So they had reptile stuff in multiple different brands, and what they did is they created Zilla to pull all the reptile stuff into one brand, and they rebranded it all Zilla. So KT had like some bedding, Super Pet had screen tops, ESU had like heaters and lighting and things like that. They pulled it all in to be Zilla. When they started that, they launched this big campaign to launch it. When it started, they didn't have somebody that really knew reptile. They had a corporate brand person, a marketing person running it, and they really focused on some of the bigger pet stores and working on things they wanted, and they kind of got seen as that. They got seen as the company that makes kits for Petco and PetSmart. Weren't really involved in the hobby, didn't do any reptile shows or anything like that. So I worked with a bunch of really cool pet and aquatic people, and they ended up working there in their tech and warranty department. They called me all the time for reptile questions because they knew I was a reptile nerd. So they called me, and one of them's like, Zilla's looking for a reptile guy. You should come, interview. And I'm like, I was an engineer. I'm like, what is a reptile guy? Like, they need somebody to scoop crap. Like, I don't know what that means. That doesn't mean anything. That's not a job description. So I'm like, I can't quit my salary, engineering job to be a reptile guy. So I'm like, figure out what it is and tell me. Otherwise, I can't do that. And no, I'm not interested unless you tell me what it is. So another person called me, said the same thing. A couple months later, his wife messaged me and said, you should do this. And I kept turning them down. So their head of HR, they sponsored the Herp Society I run, the Madison Area Herp Society. And the head of HR emailed me and she's like, hey, here's this job description. We're looking for somebody. If you know anybody, let us know. I know you're not interested. And that was the first time I saw a job description of what it was. So they're looking for a marketing brand manager. And I looked up what salaries for that person would be, and it was comparable to what I was making, and I could have made it work. And so I sent her my resume. I said, okay, now that I know what reptile guy means, I'll come talk. And it just kind of went from there. So I took over brand manager for Zilla.
Well, it's good. I think that, you bring a love to it, obviously, a huge love to it. And I think that any company like that should have that. It's the only way to be truly successful as a company in my mind.
Well, and that's the thing. I've always loved reptiles. I've loved the hobby. I've loved the community of people. And it's but like I said before, I never really wanted to do reptiles because I was afraid of making it a career and what it would do to it. But this gave me an opportunity to do something with the hobby, to improve husbandry, because I do a lot of the R&D and designing products. I do a lot of the philanthropy, all the marketing, everything. Everything that happens with Zilla goes through me. So I have this really awesome way to impact our community in a really big way, but I still go home and play with my animals and love it. I'm not scooping poop all day and then going home to scoop poop all day. So it's cool, and it's been a lot of fun. So it's been really awesome to come up with these ideas and then work through manufacturing and things and working with companies to make these, and then now have it in a box on a shelf and have people able to buy this thing that I just cooked up in my head. So
it's pretty sweet, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's an incredible amount of work. Last year I did during show season. I do shows on the weekends. I do work during the week. After tonight I'm going to go back to my room, work for 3 or 4 hours. Last year I did 42 days without a day off, no weekends, no nothing. But I love it, So it's got its ups and downs, but overall it's pretty fun. It's got me the opportunity to do a lot of really cool stuff.
I appreciate you coming on and tell us about it, man.
No, for sure.
Awesome
I'm always up for it.
Thanks, bro.
Of course.
All right, guys, don't stick around for the bloopers, because it's just going to ruin any air of professionalism we ever portrayed here, okay? Now, that was a fun interview and a cool guy, man. When I meet people like Ryan in the hobby, the more I realize what a powerfully positive force we are in the world. I just want to thank Ryan for his part in the reality of what that means. Please reach out to him with the link in the description down below and let him know how awesome you think he is. And while you're down there, please poke that like button right in the fun hole if you like what we're all about. And make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to see more episodes every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Next week, we're going to be talking with Jim Jolly and checking out his beautiful reticulated pythons. Until then, you've been watching Triple B TV. Y'all take care now, you hear?
So there's if you're
It's my birthday. Alrighty then, Jim. Why did that just turn off? Oh, all kinds of problems. If you're wondering why my teleprompter isn't scrolling, then that might clue you into why I have no idea what I'm talking about right now. In the reality of what that means